very large hail, damaging winds, and maybe even an isolated tornado. Good morning, I'm meteorologist Pew. Today is July 19th, 2025. We have a slight risk or a 2 out of 5 in multiple places. We have one stretching from the northern Rockies to the high plains to the central plains. We have another one in the Midwest, and we have another one from Virginia to North Carolina. The one thing that all these risk areas have in common is that they may see damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour. But places like the northern Rockies, central plains, and high plains may see hail up to 2 inches or even greater in diameter. There's also a risk for an isolated or spin-up tornado from the Rockies, high plains, central plains, and Midwest. In terms of flash flooding, the Weather Prediction Center has issued a really broad slight risk area from the Midwest all the way down to Virginia and North Carolina. And a lot of these places, especially the East Coast to Mid-Atlantic, have already been seeing rain this week, which means the soil is already saturated, which means it's going to have a harder time absorbing that water, which is making flash flooding more of a risk. Some of these areas may see an additional 1 to 2 inches of rain in the next 24 hours, but especially in Iowa, you've already been seeing a lot of rain this morning and possibly another wave later tonight. For the northern Rockies and high plains, it looks like things are going to start initiating around 20Z or 2 p.m. Mountain Time. And there's a possibility that the storms in Nebraska may later in this evening form together to form an MCS or mesoscale convective system, or basically one big blob that will travel through Iowa and northern Illinois throughout the night and the next morning. So speaking of the Midwest, places like Iowa and central Illinois have already been seeing rain as this video is being posted this morning. But for places like Michigan, it looks like things are going to start around 19Z or 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And then for Virginia and North Carolina, it looks like 18Z or 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Looking at the surface, starting with the northern Rockies, we have a low pressure interacting with a high pressure that's in Canada right now. And what's happening is there's a huge pressure gradient in between the two, which is going to increase the surface winds in this area. Remember that low pressure is counterclockwise flow and high pressure is clockwise flow. So these two interacting with each other is bringing in winds from the southeast into higher terrain. And this is going to be significant in this area because when we look at the fronts, there's no cold front, there's no warm front, and there's no dry line in this area. So what the heck is causing the surface lift? And it's because of these surface winds going towards the mountain. It's going to cause orographic lift. And orographic lift is essentially winds going upslope of a mountain because the wind obviously can't go through the ground. So it's forced to go and follow the terrain upward, which is going to bring in that moisture and then produce those clouds. And then in the upper atmosphere, we have normal westerly winds. So the storm tracks are still going to go from west to east. Okay, now back to the surface. In the Midwest, we have your classic cold front. That's going to be bringing in surface lifts. And then for Virginia and North Carolina, we initially had a stationary front this morning, but it's going to be turned into a warm front later because there's a high pressure in the southeast and Atlantic that's going to be pulling in a lot of warm, moist air into this area. So in contrast to the Rockies, we're going to have downslope from the Appalachian Mountains. That's going to draw out the moisture and it's going to make this dry line. And because warm, dry air is denser than warm, moist air, it's going to act like a front and that's going to produce those surface lifts for these storms. And that's why we have